Think a penny is just 1 cent? Think again. This 2006 penny could sell for thousands at auction. Hidden errors make it one of the rarest coins ever. If you have one, you might be the luckiest person alive. If you think a penny is just a penny, think again. Imagine this. A small 2006 1-cent penny, resting quietly in a jar of spare change, tucked into the pocket of a winter coat, or slipped between the pages of an old book. To the casual eye, it is nothing more than a tiny copper disc, ordinary and unremarkable. But to a collector, to someone who understands the hidden world of coins, this 2006 penny could be far more than its face value. If you have this coin, you may be holding a piece of history and potentially a fortune that few ever imagine exists in something so small. The excitement begins the moment you notice it, and the story behind it will keep you on the edge of your seat. The year 2006 was a world of change. Technology was advancing rapidly. Smartphones were on the horizon, and the United States was navigating a new era of culture, economy, and innovation. Meanwhile, in the quiet halls of the U.S. Mint, millions of 1-cent coins were being produced for everyday transactions, including the 2006 Lincoln cent. At first glance, it may have seemed like any other penny, a small copper-plated zinc disc bearing the familiar image of Abraham Lincoln on the front and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. But even in a year as modern as 2006, some pennies were destined to stand out, carrying subtle anomalies that could make them highly sought after by collectors. The 2006 penny is part of the Lincoln cent series, which has been in continuous production since 1909. Designed by Victor David Brenner, Lincoln's profile on the obverse has become iconic, representing American history, perseverance, and tradition. On the reverse, the Lincoln Memorial pays homage to one of the nation's greatest leaders, connecting a coin in your hand to generations of Americans who have relied on these small pieces of currency. But what makes certain 2006 pennies extraordinary is not the design itself, but the subtle variations and minting errors that occur in almost every year of production. Double dies, misaligned strikes, and rare planchet errors can elevate an ordinary penny into a collector's dream. Imagine holding a 2006 penny in your hand, thinking it's just another coin, when suddenly a tiny detail catches your eye. Perhaps the date appears slightly doubled, the mint mark is faint or unusual, or the coin seems off-center. These anomalies, invisible to most people, can make all the difference in a collector's world. The thrill of discovery is unmatched. Many of these rare pennies have traveled through countless hands, from children's piggy banks to cash registers, and some have remained hidden for decades, waiting to be discovered by someone who knows their true value. If you have this coin, you're holding more than currency. You're holding a piece of possibility, rarity, and excitement. Collectors and numismatists know that the real magic lies in condition and detail. A 2006 penny may seem common, but in pristine condition, with a rare minting anomaly, it can command attention and value well beyond expectations. Over time, these pennies develop unique characteristics, subtle toning, copper red luster, and even the tiniest hints of die cracks that make each coin unique. Every mark and imperfection tells a story. A child drops it, a cashier handles it, a coin rolls across a diner floor, and decades later, it emerges as a treasure. And that is why, if you have a 2006 penny with these rare features, you are among the luckiest collectors alive. The thrill of discovering such a coin cannot be overstated. Imagine taking it to a professional numismatist for authentication. Under bright light and with magnification, the expert examines the coin, noting the quality of the strike, the sharpness of Lincoln's portrait, the clarity of the date and mint mark, and the subtle anomalies that distinguish it from the millions of ordinary pennies minted that year. And then comes the revelation. Your coin is rare, extraordinary, and highly sought after. The value of a pristine, error-bearing 2006 penny can reach thousands of dollars, a figure that transforms a seemingly ordinary coin into a life-changing treasure. If you have this coin, you are holding a numismatic miracle in the palm of your hand. What makes the 2006 penny even more fascinating is that its anomalies are often easy to overlook, yet incredibly impactful. Slight doubling, a misplaced die, or a minting flaw can mean the difference between a penny worth 1 cent and a collector's item worth a small fortune. Even subtle differences in color, toning, or finish can drastically affect its appeal. That is why every 2006 penny should be examined carefully. Among the millions minted, only a select few stand out as truly exceptional, making them rare jewels in the world of coin collecting. Holding this coin, you can almost imagine the people who handled it over the years. Perhaps it sat in a pocket during a busy day, jingled in the register at a local store, or rested in a jar of coins that had been untouched for years. Every scratch, every mark, every subtle sign of circulation adds to its story. And when a collector discovers a 2006 penny with a rare feature or error, it's more than just a coin. It's a connection to history, a piece of legacy, and a tangible reminder that fortune sometimes comes in the smallest of packages. The final reveal is as thrilling as it is rare. A 2006 penny in perfect condition, with its anomaly intact, has the potential to fetch thousands of dollars, or even more, depending on the market and the collector's interest. It is a small, unassuming piece of metal, yet it carries decades of history, the thrill of discovery, and the promise of extraordinary value. If you're lucky enough to have one of these rare pennies, you are not just a collector. You are the guardian of a tiny but incredibly powerful treasure. The 2006 1-cent penny proves that even the smallest coins can hold stories, fortunes, and mysteries beyond imagination. So next time you come across a 2006 penny, don't just toss it aside. Examine it closely, appreciate its design, and consider the possibility that it could be rare, extraordinary, and life-changing. This tiny coin carries history, mystery, and value in a way few other objects can. If you have it, you are among the luckiest people in the world, holding in your hands a small yet mighty connection to fortune, history, and the thrill of discovery. And as we reach the end of this incredible journey, take a moment to imagine the power hidden in something so small. That tiny 2006 penny, unassuming and ordinary at first glance, carries with it decades of history, mystery, and rare potential. It has traveled through countless hands, witnessed everyday life, and yet holds the possibility to change your world in an instant. Every scratch, every mark, every subtle anomaly tells a story that few ever get to experience. If you have this coin, you are not just lucky. You are holding a treasure, a connection to history, and a fortune in the palm of your hand. Treasure it, examine it, and never underestimate the small things, because sometimes the smallest coin can bring the biggest surprise. A single penny, quietly waiting, and suddenly you are among the luckiest people alive. If you ever stumbled upon a coin and didn't realize its value, today might be the day you become the luckiest person in the world. Imagine this: a simple, seemingly ordinary 1987 1-cent penny, the kind you might find buried in your couch cushions, tucked away in an old jar, or forgotten in a dusty drawer. To the untrained eye, it's just a tiny copper disc, just like millions of others minted in that year. But what if I told you that some of these pennies, just this one from 1987, could hold a staggering value of tens of thousands of dollars? If you have this coin, you are among the luckiest people on Earth, and by the end of this story, you'll see exactly why. The year 1987 was remarkable in American history for many reasons. It was the year the stock market experienced highs and lows. The nation was captivated by the rise of technology and personal computers. And yet, quietly, in mints across the country, 1-cent coins were being produced that would one day ignite the imaginations of collectors worldwide. The 1987 penny may appear unremarkable now, but back then, it carried the same promise as any coin, a symbol of economy, daily life, and small savings. Pennies were everywhere, exchanged for gum, bus rides, and the smallest of purchases, yet some held secrets far beyond their face value. The 1987 1-cent penny is part of the Lincoln Cent series, a coin that has been in continuous production since 1909. Designed by Victor David Brenner, Lincoln's portrait graces the obverse side, a testament to enduring legacy and national pride. But the true story of a 1987 penny lies not only in its design, but in its production anomalies. In this year, certain pennies experienced variations, tiny imperfections that today, to a collector, could mean the difference between a coin worth mere cents and one worth a fortune. These anomalies include double dies, off-center strikes, and even rare mint errors that only a handful of coins exhibit in perfect condition. And these are not just mistakes. To those who understand the market, these are golden opportunities. Imagine holding a coin that, at first glance, looks like every other 1987 penny you've ever seen. You glance at the familiar Lincoln portrait, notice the wheat-free reverse, the Lincoln Memorial on the back, smooth copper color, the usual Liberty and In God We Trust inscriptions. And yet, under magnification, something magical appears. Perhaps the date seems slightly raised, the mint mark appears faint or doubled, or a subtle anomaly reveals itself on the rim. These are the hallmarks of the rarest finds, the coins that collectors dream about, and the reason why this humble penny has been known to fetch extraordinary prices. Collectors and numismatists have scoured hundreds of thousands of pennies from this year, examining every detail under microscopes and high-intensity lights. The fascination comes not just from scarcity, but from history, the story each coin tells. A 1987 1-cent penny might have passed through countless hands, tucked in a child's piggy bank, slipped into a tip jar in a bustling diner, or accidentally dropped into a parking lot grate. Each scratch, each mark, each hint of wear tells a story of its journey. And when such a coin surfaces in near-perfect condition, with its rare error intact, it becomes more than money. It becomes a piece of living history. The thrill of discovering such a coin cannot be overstated. Imagine finding it in your pocket change or in an old collection inherited from a grandparent. At first you might think, oh, just a penny. But the moment you realize it might be one of the rare error pennies of 1987, your heart races. You bring out a magnifying glass, inspect it closely, and your excitement grows with every detail. The coin's smooth copper luster, the subtle doubling on the date, the alignment errors, all signs that this is not just a coin, but a treasure. If you have this coin, you are literally holding a piece of fortune in your hand. What makes the 1987 penny so special is not just the anomalies, but the context. By the late 1980s, minting processes were highly sophisticated and errors were rare but highly sought after. The copper-plated zinc composition, standard for the period, added another layer of interest. Over time, some pennies would develop unique toning, a patina of reds, browns, and hints of gold. That makes each one visually stunning. Numismatic experts often highlight that the condition, rarity, and eye appeal all contribute to skyrocketing values. Even among collectors, few have seen the perfect 1987 era penny in person, and fewer still have had the chance to add it to their private collections. Now, imagine the thrill of taking your coin to an expert for authentication. A professional numismatist examines it carefully, notes the mint mark, evaluates the strike, checks for die errors, and finally confirms what you've been secretly hoping for. Your 1987 1-cent penny is one of the rarest variants ever recorded. The room seems to spin for a moment as reality sets in. This tiny, unassuming coin, something you could have almost overlooked, is now revealed to be worth more than most people make in a year. Its value, astonishingly, could reach as high as $80,000 in today's market, depending on its condition and rarity. If you have this coin, you are not just lucky, you are extraordinarily fortunate, a custodian of a numismatic miracle. The allure of such coins extends beyond monetary value. Collectors often describe the experience as finding a connection to history, to the very people who minted, used, and cherished these pennies decades ago. Holding the coin in your hand, you can almost imagine a family in 1987 exchanging it at a grocery store, or a child marveling at Lincoln's face for the very first time. The coin becomes a bridge between past and present, a small but profound reminder of time's passage and the stories that even the smallest objects can carry. As stories like these circulate in the collecting community, the mystique of the 1987 penny grows. Those who have one are suddenly part of an elite group, privy to knowledge that most never attain. People share tales of discovering coins in the oddest places, between couch cushions hidden in old wallets or forgotten in jars for decades. Each story carries the same theme: surprise, disbelief, and joy. And each reinforces one undeniable truth: if you have this coin, you are among the luckiest people alive. The final reveal, after all the suspense, the inspection, the historical context, and the examination of anomalies, brings us to the moment every collector dreams of. That single 1987 1-cent penny, preserved in near-perfect condition with its rare minting anomaly, is not just a coin. It is a treasure, an artifact, a fortune waiting to be realized. The current market has valued such pennies at up to $80,000, a figure that transforms an everyday coin into a life-changing discovery. So, if you ever come across a 1987 penny, take a closer look. Examine the details, inspect the mint mark, and consider the possibility that it might be one of the rarest coins of its year. This is not a story of imagination. It is the reality of the numismatic world. One small penny, produced in a seemingly ordinary year, could become the most valuable item in your collection, the crown jewel of your coin set, or the start of an extraordinary journey into the world of rare coins. If you have this coin, hold it close, because you may very well be the luckiest person in the entire world. And finally, as we come to the end of this incredible journey, remember this: what seemed like just a tiny, ordinary 1987 penny has revealed itself to be so much more: a rare treasure, a piece of history, and a potential fortune resting quietly in your hands. Every scratch, every mark, every subtle anomaly tells a story that spans decades, connecting you to the people who minted, spent, and cherished these coins long before you even knew they existed. The thrill of discovery, the excitement of possibility, and the joy of knowing that if you have this coin, you're truly one of the luckiest people alive, is unmatched. So, the next time you find a penny, take a closer look. Examine it, appreciate it, and who knows, you might just be holding a coin that could change your life forever. Keep your eyes open, treasure the little things, and never underestimate the power hidden in something as small as a single cent. If you think pennies are worthless, think again. Picture this: a small, copper-colored 1988 1-cent penny resting quietly in a jar, a wallet, or even lying unnoticed on a counter. To most, it's just a coin, nothing more than the change you shove into parking meters or vending machines. But to a collector, to someone who understands the hidden mysteries of minting, this tiny coin can be a treasure of unimaginable value. If you have this coin, you might be holding one of the luckiest discoveries of your life. Yes, a single 1988 penny could change everything. And by the end of this story, you'll understand why it captivates collectors and numismatists around the world. The year 1988 was bustling with history. Ronald Reagan was in his final year in office. The economy was shifting, and America was embracing a world of new technology. Meanwhile, in the quiet corridors of the U.S. Mint, millions of 1-cent coins were being struck, including the Denver-minted 1988 penny, stamped boldly with a D mint mark. At first glance, it seemed ordinary, another Lincoln cent in the long line of American coinage. But some of these pennies carried secrets, anomalies that would make them the most coveted coins decades later. The 1988 1-cent penny continues the enduring Lincoln cent legacy, which began in 1909. The obverse proudly features Abraham Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner, a figure whose presence has spanned generations of American coinage. On the reverse, the Lincoln Memorial stands as a tribute to history and craftsmanship. But the magic lies not in the image itself, but in the variations and errors that occasionally slip through even the most sophisticated minting processes. Double dies, weak strikes, off-center minting, and subtle die cracks are among the rare anomalies that have collectors willing to pay a small fortune for the perfect example. Imagine holding this penny in your hand. To the casual observer, it is indistinguishable from the millions of others minted in 1988 at the Denver Mint. Yet, as you examine it under a magnifying glass, tiny details emerge, perhaps a slight doubling on the date, a faint mint mark, or a barely noticeable strike error that instantly signals rarity. These details, invisible to most, are what separate an everyday coin from a once-in-a-lifetime find. And this is why if you have this coin, you could be one of the luckiest people in the world. Collectors have scoured coin rolls, bank boxes, and private collections, looking for these anomalies. The thrill lies not just in rarity, but in the journey, the suspense of discovering something hidden in plain sight. Many of these pennies have traveled through countless hands, from the pocket of a schoolchild, to a cashier's till, to an unsuspecting collector's stack. Each scratch and imperfection adds to the story. But when in 1988, D penny emerges in near-perfect condition with a rare minting error, it transforms into a piece of history, a tangible connection to the past, and potentially a fortune. The excitement of owning such a coin cannot be overstated. Imagine bringing it to a numismatic expert and watching as their eyes widen at the sight of the rare mint mark or die error. They examine it closely, noting the coppa's luster, the clarity of Lincoln's profile, the alignment of the strike, and finally confirm your secret hope. This 1988 D penny is one of the rarest examples known to collectors. The value? Astonishing. A coin in pristine condition, with its error intact, could fetch up to $80,000 in today's market. That's right, a single penny, one small piece of metal, suddenly becomes a fortune waiting to be realized. If you have this coin, you are not just lucky, you are extraordinarily fortunate. But the allure of the 1988 D penny goes beyond money. It's about history, the journey of the coin through time, and the story it tells. Imagine a family in Denver in 1988 using these pennies in everyday transactions, unaware that some would become the rarest coins in the world. Each coin carries that history, and when a collector discovers one with an error or anomaly, it's like uncovering a secret left behind by time itself. Holding this penny, you're not just holding currency, you're holding decades of untold stories, a tiny witness to history. What makes the 1988 D penny even more fascinating is the challenge of identification. Not all errors are obvious. Some require a trained eye, careful magnification, and expert knowledge to spot. Slight doubling of the date, subtle die cracks, or weak strikes could mean the difference between an everyday coin and a rare treasure. And that's what makes this penny so mesmerizing. It could have been in your pocket, in your change, or in a forgotten collection, waiting quietly for someone to recognize its true value. Collectors often describe the feeling of finding such a coin as indescribable. A mix of disbelief, excitement, and awe floods over them as they realize what they're holding. The 1988 D penny is a perfect example. Small, seemingly ordinary, yet capable of inspiring a lifetime of fascination and joy. Its rarity and condition define its value, and the knowledge that you may have discovered one of these coins elevates it from mere metal to something almost magical. As we approach the final reveal, the suspense reaches its peak. This isn't just any penny. This is a coin that holds the potential to change lives, to transform an ordinary collection into something extraordinary. Its rare minting errors, its flawless preservation, and its historical significance converge to make it a true numismatic gem. The 1988 D 1-cent penny has been known to fetch up to $80,000 in pristine condition, a sum that turns a humble coin into a treasure, a piece of history, and a dream realized. If you have this coin, you're truly among the luckiest people alive, holding in your hand a connection to history, rarity, and fortune that few will ever experience. So, the next time you come across a 1988 D penny, examine it closely. Look for the subtle anomalies, appreciate the craftsmanship, and consider the incredible journey that coin may have taken before reaching you. It is a tiny reminder that fortune often comes in the smallest forms, that treasures can be hidden in plain sight, and that if you're lucky enough to hold this coin, you're holding something that could literally change your life forever. And as we reach the end of this incredible journey, take a moment to imagine the power of what you've just discovered. That tiny 1988 D penny, small and unassuming in appearance, carries with it decades of history, mystery, and possibility. It has traveled through countless hands, witnessed everyday life, and yet holds the potential to transform your world in an instant. Every scratch, every subtle anomaly, every hint of its rare minting tells a story that few will ever experience firsthand. If you have this coin, you are not just lucky. You are holding a fortune, a piece of history, and a numismatic miracle all at once. Treasure it, examine it, and appreciate the rare moment of connection it gives you to the past, because moments like this are once in a lifetime. A single penny, one small coin, and suddenly you are among the luckiest people in the entire world.